Senator Helmy.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Johnson, I'd start by echoing our Chairman and Ranking Member for thanking you for your long career, and your wife and your daughter for your long career in public service, and would add, based on your testimony, your responses, and your resume, that I personally think you're amply qualified for the role.
Thank you.
I got my start just a number of years ago in D.C. terms as a caseworker for Senator Frank Lautenberg, a great champion for the people of New Jersey. So many of my questions will be what I think is within the scope of your office in terms of waste and abuse and driving timeliness and accountability for the IRS. Over the past few years, the IRS has dramatically been able to improve the quality of customer services, thanks in part to the funding provided by this committee and the Congress and the IRA. In FY24, 88% of callers who called into the IRS were able to speak personally to a representative with an average wait time that was reduced to only a handful of minutes. For comparison, just a few years ago, only 17% of callers were answered within 27 minutes. How do you see your office playing a role in ensuring that the IRS continues to make significant progress in its support for taxpayer support services?
So based on my review of publicly available information, it does appear that taxpayer services would be one of the top priorities for TIGTA, and one that we would continually be looking at in a variety of capacities. I do believe that providing recurring reports on some of these big issues can help in terms of notifying Congress about the status of call centers and processing of refunds and other important issues. So I do believe that one thing that I would do if I were confirmed would be to continue to focus the spotlight on those important issues and provide updates so that Congress can see whether there are positive trends, negative trends, or whether things are leveling off. And I think that that can help inform not only you, but the agency's head about the effectiveness of whatever programs they are beefing up and how they are.
Yeah, I think it's a really important answer, and thank you for that. I think it would be welcome that Congress receive those reports on the timeliness of our constituents getting a response and being able to talk personally to a representative. It is where government sort of hits the road and where constituents really feel the work of the federal government. In my prior role as Chief of Staff to the Governor, we almost mandated that across the board, where we had still call-in centers, especially during the COVID response, of how quickly people were getting a live person on the phone. I think that's a welcome response. An area where I think there's opportunity for significant improvement, and would ask if you're confirmed that you take a look at this, is the average processing time for amended return, which at this point can be up to, as an average, 20 weeks. That means a family that makes a small mistake on the return can end up waiting 4 to 5 months for a full refund. How would you ensure that we can do better for the working families of New Jersey and the country in that area?
So again, I'm not the Inspector General at TIGTA yet. I'm not working at that agency yet. So what I would certainly want to commit to you is that I understand it's an important issue. It's something that I will be looking into, be getting briefed on day one. And after, again, making my own assessment of the situation in terms of what products we should be working on, what's in the pipeline, follow up with you and your staff to ensure that it's being appropriately looked at.
I would just encourage you to look into that quickly, having, in preparation for this hearing, talk to my casework team. Sometimes we're seeing really minor mistakes not being handled for 5 months, and these are families that are obviously in need, given the tough economic times for some families on these amendments. My last question, sir, would be, under this administration, the IRS has significantly stepped up the enforcement efforts focused on large partnerships and corporations, as well as high-income individuals who may have avoided their tax responsibility. It's a long overdue step in closing the tax gap without increasing the burden on middle-class families. In September, the IRS reported that it was able to collect $1.1 billion in previously unpaid taxes from about 1,600 high-income individuals. For comparison, that by itself is enough to fund the CFTC. If confirmed, will you and how will you continue to review the IRS's audit selection to ensure that using its resources to clamp down on high-yield tax evasion?
I've heard from several staff members that this is an issue, enforcement, in terms of priorities for IRS and how it is determining which entities to focus on for audits and other things. So I do believe, with the usual caveats that I'm not there yet, that would be something that I would be looking at very early on and trying to make an assessment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank my colleague, and let me say to him that it is not clear what the schedule is going to be between now and the end of the year. And I just want to take this opportunity to say it's been a pleasure to have you as a member of the committee. I've especially enjoyed our conversations about healthcare, and I will say to my colleagues, find a way to discuss healthcare with our new friend from New Jersey, because I want it understood so that New Jerseyans understand it and the country understands it. I believe some of your ideas about healthcare are going to become law in the years ahead. May not be tomorrow or the next day, but stay tuned. They're
Thank
going to
you.
become law someday.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr. Chairman.
Hassan's next.
It's been the honor of a lifetime serving under you. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator